This video is on radical equations, solving equations. Just to start off, I want to remind you that squaring and square rooting are opposite operations. So if you had the square root of 25 squared, if you took the square root of 25, you would get 5. And then if you square it, you would get 25. So basically, those two operations are just undoing each other. You're just getting what's under the radical. So square root and squared undo each other. And so when you're solving radical equations, I'm going to do about 9 examples here. If you were trying to solve this, square root of x equals 3. That's an equation. And I want to know, what does x equal? The answer should be obvious to you, that it's 9, because the square root of 9 is 3. But the way you solve it, like you learned in Algebra 1, whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other. So what we're going to do to get rid of this radical is we'll just square it, because squaring and square root undo each other. So when you take x and you take the square root and then you square it, you just get x, just like I did here. You just get 25. So this is how you get rid of a radical. You just square it. And that equals 3 squared, which is 9. And you know that that's the right answer, because the square root of 9 is 3. Okay, so that's a pretty basic, simple example. Here's another example. Square root of x minus 7 equals 0. So I just added one step there. This goes back to Algebra 1. If you want to solve the equation, just add 7 to both sides. And now we're right back where we started with the first example. You get the square root of x equals 7, and then just square both sides. This cancels out. You just get x equals 49. And you can go back and check it. Square root of 49 is 7 minus 7 is 0. So that's solving a radical equation. I'm going to do a few more so you can see it, maybe make it slightly more difficult each time. Here's number 3. Square root of x minus 3 equals 6. So a little different than the one I just did. Instead of having the minus 7 inside the radical, I had it outside, and now I have it inside. So I need to get rid of this radical. I'll just square both sides. Now I just have the squared gets rid of the radical, and I get x minus 3 equals 6 squared is 36. Now I just add 3 to both sides, like you learned in Algebra 1. X equals 39. If you want to check your answer, plug it back in. 39 minus 3 is 36, and the square root of 36 is 6. So it works. Okay, a few more. You could have a radical on both sides. 2x plus 9 equals radical 3x plus 8. And so obviously, if you want to get rid of the radical, just square both sides, and the radical will be gone, and you'll just have 2x plus 9 equals 3x plus 8. And just subtract 8, and you'll get 3x equals 2x plus 1, and subtract 2x, and you get 1 equals 3x, and then divide by 3, and you get 1/3. I didn't know it was going to be a fraction. Okay, on the next example, number 5. Here's something slightly different. This is a cubic, so I'll put a little 3 here, and I get 2x minus 5 equals 3. Now, if you want to get rid of a cubed root, you just cube both sides, because taking a cube root and cubing are opposite operations. You end up with just what's under the radical. 2x minus 5 equals 3 to the 3rd power, which is 27. Add 5 to both sides. 2x equals 32. Divide by 2. X equals 16. Okay, just a few more. Number 6. X to the 1/2 plus 9 equals 0. I just wanted to throw this in there because to remind you that this is a square root. This is the square root of x plus 9 equals 0. Also, I wanted to show you that if you subtract 9 from both sides, you end up with the square root of x equals -9, which is no solution because you cannot put a number under the square root and come up with a negative, so just no solution. Number 7, 5 plus 4x minus 5. This is just a little bit longer than a previous example, just an extra step thrown in there. First thing you want to do is get rid of this 5. So minus 5 minus 5. That gives me radical 4x minus 5, right? These cancel. Equals 7. And now you square both sides to get rid of the radical. 49. Add 5. 4x equals, what is that, 54. And then divide by 4. And that's another fraction again. 12 and a half. Okay, and this is the last one. And I just want to point out, this could have been on the other side. It could also have said 4x minus 5 plus 5 equals 12. Same thing as this. Just you still subtract 5 from both sides. And the last one is like this. X plus 5 equals 12. Make some room. This is a multiplication problem. This is 4 times radical x plus 5 equals 12. So to undo the multiplication, you divide both sides by 4. And now you have radical x plus 5 equals 3. Square both sides. Make sure that radical goes all the way across. And that leaves you with x plus 5 equals 9, and then subtract 5. X equals 4. So pretty straightforward. Same thing you did in Algebra 1. Solving equations, just make sure you get rid of the radical, and that is called radical equations.